All right, so this morning we are pleased to have Kamlyn Melville-Pantin as our speaker. I first, however, would like to introduce my co-host today, Kelly Manette Camajo. And she was a previous speaker last year.
Yes, it was.
Yes, in our Environmental Fridays. Just briefly, some things about Kelly is that she is a graduate of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine. She has a master's of science in management of tropical environments and a BS in biology and environmental and natural resources management. Are those two separate BSs or is it one BS?
Actually, it's one. It's biology and environmental management would have been the minor to it.
I see. Okay, okay. So Kelly is an associate member of the NGO called Species, SPESEAS.
Yes.
And she is director of Buku Reef Trust. There's a lot of activity that she does in the sphere of science, education, marine, and environmental science. And we are privileged to have her as a co-host. I believe you know Kamlyn, don't you?
Yes, I do. We have worked closely together already.
All right, sounds good. So go ahead and introduce Kamlyn for us.
All right, a pleasant good morning, everyone. It's my privilege this morning to introduce our guest speaker to Environmental Fridays, Mrs. Kamlyn Melville-Pantin. She is employed with the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry within the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, and Sustainable Development of the Tobago House of Assembly. She obtained a diploma in forestry at the Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry, and she has been employed in the division for the past 22 years in the post of Natural Resources Officer, Forester 1, and now Acting Forester 2. Her main focus is that of education in schools at the preschool, kindergarten level, primary and secondary school levels. She is the officer responsible for the management of the Tobago's Main Ridge Forest Reserve, along with other forest-related matters. She has conducted a bird identification project which was geared at ascertaining whether the bird species presently found in Tobago has increased or decreased from those identified or referenced in the second edition of the Birds of Trinidad and Tobago by Martin Kentfick and Robin Restal and Floyd Hayes. So it's my pleasure this morning to welcome Mrs. Kamlyn Melville-Pantin as our guest speaker. Thank you.
All right,
Good
Kamlyn.
morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much, Kelly and Dr. Murray. I know that we are on a late start, so I'll start right away. And of course, as they would have said, I'm going to talk about the conservation of the Main Ridge Forest Reserve, the environmental conservation of the Main Ridge Forest Reserve. I thank you for your patience. So first of all, let me just give you an outline of our presentation. Dr. Murray, are we on that page right now?
Yes.
Okay, so as you can see, I'm going to just give you a little highlight as to where you can find what we're talking about this morning. I'm going to give you a little snippet of the location, the basic information about the Main Ridge Forest Reserve, the ecological highlights of the Main Ridge Reserve, the forest types, the endemic species found there, the main attractions of the reserve, the recreational highlights, conservation measures, challenges, and opportunities. So what you're seeing next is just a world view of where you can find Trinidad and Tobago. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm showing as well the map of the Caribbean. So you get a closer view. So I'm breaking it out from the world view, now the Caribbean view.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm showing you a map of Trinidad and Tobago. Now, Trinidad and Tobago is a twin island state. We are the most southern island of the Lesser Antilles, and it is believed that we were once connected to the South American continent. This is a beautiful picture of our island, Tobago, so I welcome you to our island via this map. And if you look at this map closely, the map of Tobago, you're going to see a small area within the island, more or less the backbone of Tobago, our main rich forest reserve. And as you come into the main rich forest reserve, you will see the sign. And not only this sign, you're going to feel the difference as you come into our rainforest as well, because the temperatures there are very cool and very pristine as you enter. So we're going to the basics of the main rich forest reserve now. The main rich forest reserve was established on the 13th of April, 1776, which would make it 247 years this year that we are actually celebrating that reserve being proclaimed a reserve. All right? And it was done mainly because the persons who would have instituted it saw the relationship with rain and the trees. So when they proclaimed this area, it was mainly for attracting rain upon our island. And it's said that it is the oldest legally protected forest or forest reserve in the Western Hemisphere. It is considered one of the first acts of environmental conservation in the modern era. The young man was now his past, but who would have shown that strong correlation between trees and rainfall. His name was Mr. Stephen Hale, and he was an English scientist. Now, after discovering this, Mr. Jennings, a British parliamentarian, was responsible for plantation and trade on the island back then in the 1700s. He championed this notion, and so he would have asked or lobbied rather for almost 11 years before the area was actually established as a reserve. The rainforest, or the reserve rather, is the main watershed of Tobago. It provides water for most of the streams and rivers that is found on the island. The reserve occupies approximately 958 hectares of land, and it spans 17 kilometers in length and approximately 6 kilometers at the widest point. The highest point on the island was once thought to be the Pigeon Peak, but after researches, we realized it actually is the center hill with a height of approximately 630 meters. Remember, I was telling you before, as you enter the main forest reserve, you're going to feel that cool air, and this is because of the temperatures that are found in the area. You get temperatures between 22 Celsius and 33 Celsius, with humidity averaging 70% annually. Now, the reserve is not just fixed or just put by itself and nobody cannot touch or anything. Around the reserve, you can find unprotected state land and private land. And this compromises the reserve in a sense, because the areas are private and we have no specific way of saying, okay, demarcating to say persons cannot enter. We have so many areas that persons can come in. We can have a little problem at times with persons coming into the rainforest without us knowing. All right? Now, the main reserve was voted the world's leading ecotourism destination by the World Travel Awards from 2003 to 2006, and this is one of the main, well, not one of the main, but one of the issues that we see as being before the reserve. The fact that we were voted world-leading ecotourism destination gives us that kind of clout to ensure that that area stays well managed and pristine for our users. It was also voted the world's leading green destination in 2007 and 2009. We are also part of one of the Queen's Commonwealth canopy sites, and the Caribbean Nature Park of the Year in 2000 actually was voted the Caribbean Nature Park of the Year in 2019 by Green Caribbean. So I'm just going to talk now about the ecology of the Melville Forest Reserve. Within the rainforest, you can find 27 mammal species, 20 non-poisonous snakes, of which we are really happy about, 17 lizards, and one in particular is ocellated gecko. We'll talk about that a little later. We have 210 species of birds, 652 plant species, 41 fish species. We boast for having 25 plant endemic species, 4 crop species, and 1 bird species. All right, this is one that we are really proud of. The white-tailed silver-winged hummingbird. In 1963, we experienced a hurricane called Flora, and the white-tailed silver-winged hummingbird was thought to be extirpated, right? But since then, it has recovered, and indeed, the numbers are increasing. And in 2005, it was proclaimed an environmentally sensitive species. All right? Another endemic species that we have in the Melville Reserve is the Tobago trail snake. Now, this species was discovered in 2016 by some researchers, and they thought, although they would have seen it in 2016, they've seen it as being endangered already. And the only reason why they're thinking that it could be endangered is because of the size of the rainforest, and because it is so restricted that persons who go in there, because we have a culture in Tobago in particular, so in Trinidad as well. Once we see a snake, the first thing we think is, okay, this snake is posing a threat to me. So the first or the best thing for me to do is to kill it. So we are seeing this as being a threat to our snakes in particular in Tobago. Is our the snakes are said to be that predator which has that apex stature. So once we have that as being what can I say? The salad is now seen as an endangered species, and it's seen as being a sensitive species. We think that it can be preserved for future generations. Another species that we have in the rainforest, it can be found elsewhere, is the ocellated gecko. You can also find it on Little Tobago. I'm sure some of us will know about Little Tobago. We can also find it. And these two pictures are just showing the difference with the male and the female. The male is at the top, and at the bottom, the female. Another species that we have that is endemic is the bloody bee poison shark. The blueback mannequin. Now, this may not be endemic to Tobago, but we cannot find it on Trinidad. So that is a plus for us, because persons who are not able to find it on the island of Trinidad, they come across Tobago. And this bird is a specific bird that has a specific dance when it's the mating season. And persons, I remember doing a training with some university students. And one of the students was amazed because we were able to see the actual ritual of the dance of the birds. And this blew this young man's mind. So I'm really proud to see that people have this species of bird. Now, the reference event is Sakalaka. This is one of our the national birds of Trinidad and Tobago. It is not found on Trinidad, however, only in Tobago, but it's also seen as a pet in Tobago. So that is giving us as a department a little challenge to ensure that we protect these birds. Whenever persons, what we do, as we go out to our various communities, we try to encourage asking farmers not to call the animals themselves, but have us come in and do the right form of calling, if it needs to be called. Because it is true, the numbers are extremely high, but as trained officers, we will know best how to do that calling process. Or we have not done it for over 10 years. We have not done any calling. So I'm guessing that is one of the reasons why the population has increased too much. But as the stewards of our environment, we are the ones who are expected to do any form of control, pest control on the island. Other bird species that we see, the great black hawk, another majestic bird persons come to see, the rufous-tailed jacama, the red-rumped agouti, the iguana. Now these animals, we're still not sure how endangered they are, because we have a culture here in Tobago as well, where we call harvest. So almost every month throughout the year, each village will have what you call the harvest, and this is a religious celebration. Persons will give God thanks for what they would have produced in their farms and stuff like that. Now it has become a little more commercialized, so it's more like cooking food and giving it free to persons. So persons have a desire for exotic meat, like our wildlife, the agouti and the iguana in particular. So now these numbers are really dwindling because of these celebrations that take place. But as a department, as I would have said before, we are doing our best to properly manage these species. Now, the ecological highlights of the reserve. There are three main types of rainforest within the reserve, resulting from diverse microclimate experience in the area. And these types of forests can be seen as low montane, lowland, and xerophytic. The lower montane forest is found at heights above 244 meters. The area receives the greatest amount of rainfall, the greatest exposure to wind, and the lowest temperature. It covers most of the reserve. The other forest type is the lowland forest. This occurs at a maximum height of 366 meters. It is the most fertile of the forest types, and it results in copious growth of trees and plant species. Now, the xerophytic forest, the vegetation found here is drier than those in the other two forest types, the lowland and the low montane. And this can be found on the southern slopes of the forest reserve at heights of 244 meters. Now, when we talk about our managed forest reserves, we are very proud in that we offer recreational opportunities for persons to visit. And when persons are invited, we have many trails in which you can use to see whether you're doing birding or you're just doing a really exciting hike, whether it be simple hike, medium, whatever level of terrain you're looking at, we offer it here on the island. And so we have 8 trails in the forest that persons can explore. We have the Gilpin Trail, the Center Hill, Niplig, Spring, the Blue Copper, Crackleback, James Park, and the Fox Pigeon Peak. Now, some of the names derive from persons who we honored, in particular, Mr. James. He was one of the earlier leaders on the island. And of course, now he's retired, but we saw it fitting to honor him by giving this park or the trail his name. The Fox and Pigeon Peak Trail, that one was created because of the area that this trail passes through. There's an area called Fox in Delaford, and Pigeon Peak is found in Speyside. So this trail starts from the main ridge and goes right to Pigeon Peak in Speyside, hence the name, the reason for the name. The Spring Trail in particular, it's very close to a spring, so we named it like that. So that's how some of these trails got their name. Now we're going to talk a bit about the Gilpin Trail. Now this is the entrance of the Gilpin Trail. So when you come into this area, this is what you see when it comes back. And the distance of this trail is 3.5 kilometers long. Of course, there are different branches in which you can come out from the trail. There are probably about 4 to 5 different areas that you can exit the trail. So as I was telling you before, you could have a really simple walk for those persons who may be a little challenged physically. Those who might want something more moderate, give you a little more challenge. And then those areas that you have to walk and hold on to ropes and stuff, Some of the main attractions that we have on the Gilpin Trail is the home of the trapdoor spider. Most times when we take children into the area, this is one of the areas that they are really happy to see. One of the features that they are really happy to see. Because when you give them the description of the area and you tell them a little spider lives in here, and whenever the spider comes, whenever any insects pass by, the spider is going to come out and grab them. So we try to be as intuitive as possible to the children when we do our tour. So this is the home of the trapdoor spider. 3 other features that persons really can't really see when they get on the island is the gold and silver waterfall, the golden waterfall, and the Kumak waterfall. Now, the Kumak waterfall, you have to walk down a really steep hill to get to that one. But if you go to that area at the end of it, it's all good. So the kind of conservation methods we're going to deal with now. So the department uses the passive forest management approach when we're dealing with our reserves. We take a passive approach in managing the reserve, allowing nature to take its natural course with little intervention. The natural processes and natural disturbances regime is allowed to develop with a view of maintaining ecological value habits and the dependent biodiversity. No operations are allowed that might change the nature of the area. So even we as managers, we do not go and cut trees. We do not light fires. Whenever trees fall, we just go and lap it up and leave it up in the same area, or use that same number from trees to maintain the trail. Because for the last, I think it was December, we will have experienced the last rainy season. We would have experienced a lot of rain, and many trees fell. So what we would have done, and not only trees falling, but the trail in itself, that is on the in particular, the trail would have been disturbed by landslides and land slippage. So what we would have done, use the same number and use it to create that foundation to build back the trail, right? So what we do is very little operations there that can change the nature of the area. Mm-hmm. We also use it as a reference for close to nature silviculture. So what we do as well, have this area as an area that people come in and see how trees correlate with each other. What type of trees grow best together? Because in the lower mountain forest, there's a different type of association that you will find there than you will find in the lowland forest, and those that are different in xerophytic forest. So areas that are drier, persons who have private lands that are in the drier region, we can use the xerophytic forest as an example for those persons to see what are the best species that can grow there. Because it makes no sense to take a species that needs lots of rainfall and put it in an area that is drier, right? It makes no sense. So we use that as a demonstration process as well. We also facilitate basic and applied research. As I think I mentioned before, we would have done a netting program with a university. And what we would have learned there is that, no, not learned, but that's how we facilitate the research, basic or applied in the forest. We, of course, permit some forms of operation, right? Remember, I was saying we try to leave it as pristine as possible, but of course with limitations. So we create and maintain the 8 trails I was saying, talking to you about. And what we do is just go and be maintainers. We do not cut trees unless they are dead or dying. And when they are dying, we're going to cut it only if it's going to pose a threat to humans as they use the trails for their tours. Now, the conservation method, another form of conservation method that we use is the legal and policy instruments. We use, or we are guided by the Forest Act of Trinidad and Tobago, the Conservation of Wildlife Act, the Water and Sewerage Act, the National Trust of Trinidad and Tobago Act, which has to do with the Natural National Heritage Site, and of course, the Native Forest Reserve was proclaimed one in 2019. Its PAM includes a forest and protected areas management plan and UNESCO managed man and biosphere plan as well. As I think Kelly would have mentioned that we do offer educational tours to schools, and we would have offered that program to 25 primary schools in Tobago. The high school, we would have done only one of those high schools, and that would have been over 5 years ago. That was before the COVID season. And the preschools, all the preschools on the island, we would have visited as well. And we host research expeditions, be local or foreign institutions. We also host religious institutions as well. There are many religious groups who require the use of the forest reserve, and so we facilitate that. Of course, there are restrictions and there are rules and regulations that have to be followed, and we ensure those rules and regulations are actually adhered to. Another way that we give our educational program is through a fitness challenge. We have started a fitness challenge within the rainforest. And people might ask, fitness challenge, rainforest, how is that educational? But most of these people who we have on our run in this first year, that would have been in 2019, most of these people would not have visited the area. And in visiting the area and doing the race, well, what happens is that the race starts at Roxborough and ends at Bloody Bay. I think I could go back on the island, the map after, and ask Dr. Desmond to do that for me. And I could show you a correlation where the road joins from Roxborough to Bloody Bay, and the race will go through that area. And in doing that, having that race, persons are then exposed to the rainforest. And because they did not know it existed before, it is a form of education for them, even while they exercise. Good? We also have a cleanup campaign program that we have been doing over the past 10 years, and it's really a combination of government, NGOs, and the private sector. We have done this year's cleanup campaign, which we actually celebrated International Day of Forest 2023, and it was indeed successful. So I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of that later on in the presentation. So that's another way that that is another way in which we educate our population on the rainforest reserve. And another way is that we would have installed a solar system as an initiative of energy resource, right? Alternative, of energy resource. It really shows climate resilience, and it serves as a demonstration value. Because even if this is the only solar system, it may not have much of an impact. Of course, it does have an impact, but on a wider scale, what we're doing is supposed to come, whenever they come in the area and they see the solar panels on the roof, we want to know, why is that on the roof? And then we can have a conversation with them to explain exactly how we, as a people in Tobago, try to contribute to lessening the carbon in the atmosphere, and how we intend to be the leaders in showing how this system can work in bettering our environment. Now, if you see the picture of the main forest reserve, you're seeing a building there. The solar systems, that would have changed now, but that is more or less, in essence, what we have at the main forest reserve. This area is more or less being used as an interpretive center. So when schools or universities, visitors come to the area, we take them to that building and we do demonstrations. We explain to them exactly what can be found in the rainforest. We do a little lecture and educate whoever group that we have at that point in time. We educate them as to what we do and our function there in the main forest reserve. Now, I spoke about the cleanup campaign, and this was just showing you this as what we would have used to advertise our cleanup campaign. Cleanup campaign, yes. So these are some of the groups that were with us on that day. And I mentioned as well the challenge. Now, this challenge has to do with a running race, a walking race, and a cycling race. And again, as I said, it really just opens that window to show, okay, not only the educational part of it, but also we can use the reserve to exercise for us to be healthy. And this year's theme for the National Day of Forest was forest and health. So I think the run, walk, and cycle race this year, would be really apt to highlight that kind of information that we're trying to send out to our population. We would have already had 150 persons registered for this race. So we know that information is going out. And at the end of the race, it's not just that we're going to leave persons to do whatever they please or go back home. We are having an educational aspect of the race as well. So persons will be given information on the rainforest, the importance of it, and how we as a people can maintain our forest. Now, with everything, all the beautiful things that I would have said about the rainforest, we do have challenges and threats to our rights. And some of it are as follows. Illegal hunting. Although it's a reserve, within the hunting season, persons are allowed to hunt in the reserve, right? It's not like it's not to be used, but we, the government, not the government, but the act states that persons can actually hunt in the hunting season, the open season rather, but they cannot hunt between the hours of 6 p.m. and 5 p.m., 7 a.m. following day. So no hunting is expected to be done in the forest in the dark, because you cannot use any form of light when you're doing it. You're not to set any fires. Like there's something we call bullify. It's a instrument that persons will put gasoline in a bottle and have a piece of cloth at the top. So if persons don't have a torchlight, they would normally do something like that. Of course, we do not allow that because that can lead to fires. Because what happens when hunters go into the forest is that they will light these things and probably fall asleep. Eventually can cause forest fires, right? So we're trying to prevent that. The law states that persons cannot go into the area in the night to hunt. No naked light, no torchlight, nothing of that sort. Nothing of the sort. So, in order to keep down that illegal hunting, we have a staff of 18 officers. It's not big, the staff members are not much, but we work together as a team where we do patrols both day and evening and tonight. And that is one of the ways that we try to minimize that illegal hunting. Because of the terrain in the rainforest and because the boundaries are so open, it's really hard for us to maintain that or control that overhunting. But it's not something that we are not trying to do. We as a team, we are really working hard towards that to minimize that illegal hunting activity. As I mentioned before, wildfires. Since I've been working in the department for over 20 years, I would have only experienced one fire, and I think it was done deliberately. And however, it was controlled very quickly. The fire services was contacted, and that was eliminated very quickly because we do have a fire service very close to the main forest reserve. As I mentioned before, because of the boundaries, it's hard for us because even when people are encroaching because of agricultural practices, if it is that they were to set fire close to those boundaries, we may have a problem. But thank God, thus far we have not. So that is one of the issues that we have there as well, the challenges, deforestation and encroachment. Now, I remember once we would have had a problem within the forest itself, not even on the boundary. A young man would have gone into the forest onto one of our trails. He thought that the area was suitable plants and that seed, and he would have gone and cut down the area without us knowing. But on one of our regular checks, because we have dedicated category workers in the forest, so when they're cleaning the trails, maintenance of the trails, they would have noticed the activity of the gentleman. So we went in as officers and we spoke to the man, and he said he was not aware that he could not go into the reserve and cut it down to plant the agricultural crop. So the fact that we were able to go and speak to that gentleman, information went out, highlighting to us that the reserve is protected and and cannot be deforested for that kind of practice. Good? So that is one of the ways that we have, one of the things that we have to deal with as well, illegal dumping. Because of the illegal dumping, we have to do the cleanup campaigns. And the sad thing is, over the last 20 years since I've been there, we had very little dumping of refuse on the road. For the last, let me see, 5 years or so, it could be a little more. Dumping has increased. And not only dumping by persons driving through the area and just throwing through their cars, but persons are coming into the rainforest and dumping their home goods as well, their garbage. And this is one of the ways that we would have started going out to the council to inform them that, hey, this cannot be done. We have to maintain it in order to preserve that area, which not only gives us beautiful trees, but it also gives us the water that we drink. And if we were to pollute the area, eventually we can get sick, you know? So dumping is a problem that we have. However, this year, in comparison to last year's dumping, we saw there was a decrease in the amount of garbage that we picked up. Another issue that we have, or we would have had, was tethering of animals. We had a lot of problems with one particular farmer. He owns cows. And what he would have done is bring the cows up in the rainforest, in the reserve, and just let them walk freely. Since I've become the officer responsible, as being the officer responsible, I would have gone to speak with the young man, and he would have stopped. So thank God that we have no more problems with the tethering of animals. Outside of the reserve, we still have some animals being tethering outside. But inside the reserve, we have not had any instances over the past 5 years. And because of the tethering of animals, we have experienced the invasive species. There's a plant called the quickroot plant. And because of the dropping of the animals, I'm not sure if it is that they would have eaten that species before they were introduced into the area. But we believe that the kudzu was introduced by these cattle because the area that we find them is the area that the cattle would have been grazing over the years. So we have an issue with invasive species in that particular species of as well. Climate change. Of course, this is a topic that everybody is talking about today, and it's the changing and unpredictable weather patterns that we are now experiencing would give rise to our wildfire that I spoke about earlier, and the landslides after the weather that we had experienced last year. We would have experienced more landslides and land slippages. And of course, if trees were to fall, there would be a problem in our animals and plants, the life cycle of whatever animal or plant that we have there. So that's true climate change. We can have a problem with that or a challenge. Another challenge that we have is the outdated legal and regulatory framework that exists today. Of course, we are moving ahead, and so what we are suggesting is that these regulatory frameworks and legal policies should be changed or actually improved upon, yes, to better manage our protected areas. We have very little technical capacity and inadequate funding. Now, the opportunities. We have the opportunity to improve on the policy frameworks and the legal policies that we already have. And we are also thinking that there should be an improved organizational capacity, whether it's technical or financial. The fact that we are now established as a reserve, that we are now part of the ISPAM, ISPAM is now, we already have a management plan for it, and the managed by a fair designation. These will give us some kind of the capacity to have improved technical and financial assistance from whether it be international organizations or the government in particular. Another thing is that we have the opportunities that we have is progressive management, which involves the government, as I mentioned before, NGOs and private sector. The Single Biosphere Management Alliance is one way that we are trying to better facilitate managing our reserves. And so this brings me to the end of my presentation. I trust that it was informational and you all really enjoyed my presentation. So I say thank you for your attention, thank you for your patience, and I say good day.
All right, so I think you will be willing to take some questions. All right, anyone has questions? I have one to begin with. When you say Colin, C-U? Yeah, it's me. Are you hearing me? Kamlyn?
Hello?
Yes, are you hearing?
Yes, I'm hearing you better. Yeah.
Okay, so what does Colin mean? Is it C-U-L-L-I-N-G? What does Colin mean?
It's actually killing off the animals.
Okay. So is it established that the cocorico is actually a pest, and in what way is it a pest?
Okay, so it is, as I said, it actually is a national bird.
Yes.
Farmers in particular. What happened is that because of the trees, some of our trees would have been destroyed in some hurricanes and storms. And these cockroaches now live in the villages or in farm areas. These are posing a threat to our farmers. So the food that they catch, most of the time before they could reap, the cockroaches will go in and have their fill. But it's supposed to provide for the wild animals, but I think they are going a little farther than they're supposed to be. That's the truth.
Okay.
So very little is had when they do their planting.
Okay.
That's only I would have mentioned the cockroach alone, but we also have a parrot, the orange-winged parrot. I tell you that one is another pest that really does affect our farmers as well.
So they pretty much indiscriminate in terms of what they eat?
No, they eat everything now.
Okay.
That they will eat even limes and lemons and trees.
What? Wow. Wow.
It has any impact on the birds that are causing them to eat whatever they could get just to survive. I'm not sure if it's a survival mechanism.
Okay.
Yeah, we are having some issues with those things.
All right. Patricia McGaw, I see a hand.
Right. Just a comment as a resident of the Northern Range in Trinidad. When you cut the trees along the trail, when the trees fall, trees die, or you cut them, you replant them with the same species?
No, we do not. Because what happened? The fact that the forest is secondary, we have a lot of growth. And then remember, I was talking about the lower mountain having copious growth. These trees, we have many trees around them of the same species. So we just leave those to grow. So we don't really do the planting. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. The second one, when you encourage religious groups, do you make sure that they don't light candles?
Hold on, Cam. What's the question, Pat?
When you plant, when you let in the religious groups, and I have a third comment just as a point, do you make sure that they don't light candles? I mean, that is one stipulation, because there are some groups that with part of their procedure or their prayers, they light candles along the trail. So you don't allow that, right?
Yes. So what is happening? Let me answer that before you give me the third one. The thing is, the main religion that comes in, if I may mention it, is the Adventist faith. And what they do, they go because they are very environmental as a group, right?
Right.
And use the area to do their service that morning and use it to do exercise along the roads and stuff. We would not have had any from any association that normally use client candles, and I would not have experienced seeing any candles on any of our trails. So I could say safely, no, we do not experience that.
That's good, because we have a problem with the Shouter Baptists that light candles and they cause fires.
Ask for permission for that.
Right. The other thing was that I'm very disappointed that you have to have cleanup campaigns. That cleanup campaigns means that we have failed to educate people properly on not leaving their garbage behind, but take it with them. Sorry about that. Right.
No problem.
Thank you.
But I understand what you're saying, but we would have been educating persons for years. I think what is happening now is I'm not really bashing on young people, and it may not only be young people, but because we are now having a higher volume of persons coming into the forest, and I'm going to say that education as well, because we have few signs saying no dumping in the forest, but persons will still take their stuff, and right where we have no dumping, they'll dump their stuff. You know? Yes.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear.
I should be putting up some the no dumping and no littering signs. And the week after the signs went up, right next to where I would have had those signs put up, garbage was right there. I'm not sure why it was there. It was to show me okay, or show us rather that okay, I can still do my garbage, you know.
Wow.
So we really do try, and I'm taking it that what you say, that education is important, because we really do believe that education is important. So thank you for that. I think it's the culture of our people.
So I think you mentioned that you used to go into the schools, high schools and stuff. Are you going to start that program back up?
Yes, we are going to try doing that from next year. Because
Okay.
what would have happened after COVID? Schools were a bit hesitant to bring persons or allowing persons to come inside schools. But we have been inviting them into the rainforest and having tours there. Because a wider space, you know, it's easier to speak with the children, not having too much of a contact with them in a closed environment.
Okay.
We
Well,
intend to go back to schools, yeah.
okay. Well, actually, one of the things that has developed from Environmental Fridays is, I think it was maybe a month ago or so, maybe more than that, when I'm forgetting her name right now. She spoke also about, she was with Eric Lanier. Yeah. And so right after that episode, a group of students that are from Tobago, they are right now in school in Trinidad, are forming a group that's going to be called In Tobago. And it's students who are biologists and scientists and stuff. So what I'll do is connect them with you, because we talked about young people getting involved. Well, we already have a group of young people who are interested in conservation, environment from Tobago, and the name of the group is In Tobago. And so I'll connect you with them. So, you know, because that could be part of what they would do with you, is to go to the different schools, develop programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. That sounds really good. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a direct result of, you know, these episodes that we are having. So the word is getting out. Yes, the word is getting out, which reminds me too. Do you guys have public service announcements and other sort of thing go on the radio, on TV on a regular basis to update the public?
Yeah, so yes, we do, but we mainly do it when we're celebrating commemorative days.
Okay.
Excuse me for pronunciation. And of course, our division has Facebook page that informs as well.
Okay.
So anything that the department or the division does, rather, it is posted on our Facebook page. That is
Okay.
the page is called the Division of Sustainable. What is the name of my division? I'll give that information to you after.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah, so you have like an annual,
So we recently, so that's why I can't bring it right away.
so you have like an annual calendar of like, these are the things coming up this year, or how is that done?
That started because we just had election about 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and so the new regime is really trying to do those sort of things. So yes, the event posted on the Facebook page as well.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
Other comments and questions? Kelly, do you have comments, questions?
I actually had a question with regard to the designation of the area included in the man and the biosphere designation,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
In terms of that designation, have you all started seeing any benefits or any positive impacts of that designation with regard to the management of the Main Ridge Forest Reserve?
Well, we have a monument there, and I don't know much about the Man and the Biosphere. Why am I not saying this right? Man and the Biosphere program, but I could source information for you, Kelly, and anyone else who will be interested, because they are trying to form task force, not only a task, but I want to do with task. What's the name? I'm name they're calling it, but they will be the ones who will be managing. However, when persons do come to the Main Ridge Forest Reserve, they see the monument and ask for information on the importance of that. So that is where we try to focus or direct them rather to Eric, which is the one of the institutions who are really leading this project. But I have not seen any difference in any difference as yet. I'm not saying that it does not exist. That's why I'm saying I do not know. But to get that information to you, Kelly.
Kelly, you good?
Yes, thank you. And just on a side note, I just posted the name of the division that you are from in the chat. All right, so persons can access that information there as well.
Okay, good. So
Thanks, Kelly.
as a follow-up to Kelly's question too, is there a coordinated effort to market Tobago and all the different, assets, natural resources and all of that we have in Tobago? Is there for example, I mean, I see ads for and commercials for, traveling to Jamaica, right? It's all over the place, really. Do we have any sort of marketing coordination to try and get Tobago's resources and all of that out there?
I think there is, but that is controlled or done by the tourism department. And so, if it's not happening worldwide just as yet, it will be, because I know what I've seen started happening is that the different divisions in the three House of Assembly are now networking greater than before. So the information that we have, we can send it to them. And of course, as I would have said before, our Facebook page does have that kind of information attached to it as well.
Okay.
Yeah?
Desmond, the biosphere is very important to tourism. It's an eco draw for visitors.
Yeah.
So I think things are happening, but very slowly. I think it's a well thought out program, and there will be a lot more to come in the coming years. But the management of the biosphere is now under review. I think they have a big plan that's being drawn up. It has to be approved. And Kamlyn will certainly be involved in that eventually. But it's taken some time because it's a small group of people who are doing it. And it's a hard one. Right? How to integrate it within the forest reserve, as well as in all the communities included within the biosphere, which is a very large area.
Right.
And it also includes the marine aspect, so it's very big. So there will be rules about marine usage, rules about how you can build, where you can build within a biosphere. It has to be sustainable. Man living with his environment in a sustainable manner. That's what it's all about. It can be used, the logo, the UNESCO logo can be used by organizations that as a promotion in tourism, as long as they are working in a sustainable manner. And all of that has to be investigated. You're not allowed to use the logo unless you are really working in a sustainable manner. So everybody gets investigated. All of this takes time.
Mhm.
You know, it took years to bring the biosphere into existence. And I think they are adding to coral reefs and islands, which will bring all the small islands within the biosphere as a protection. So this is all added. It's a huge, it is a huge undertaking, and it will take time, but people are working on it.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
It's exciting.
Yes, it does sound that way.
What it does is add an extra layer of protection to
Mhm.
the biosphere area that falls within that circle. So I hope I helped there with something.
Oh yeah, that was good. That was good. All right. Any other question?
I just want to say thank you
You're welcome.
and thank Kamlyn
Yes,
very much.
Kamlyn.
I've enjoyed this session.
Very good, very good. We will have it posted eventually on YouTube, and we'll get that link sent out to everyone.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So again, thanks to everyone that's on this call today. Thank you, Kamlyn, for all that great information. And we persisted beyond the challenges, and that's also that's also very good. We want to thank Kelly, a good friend and very active in the area of education and environment, and continued success with all of your stuff, including the Bucca Reef Trust. So that's it for today. And again, thanks to everyone for joining in.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Okay, take
Thank you and have a wonderful day, everyone.
all right. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Kamlyn.